Chair calls Rebecca Forrest with the Immigration Reform Coalition of Texas here to testify for House Bill 263.
My name is Rebecca Forrest, and I represent the Immigration Reform Coalition of Texas. Our co-founding organizations are Citizens for Immigration Reform out of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texans for Immigration Reform out of Houston, and Central Texans for Secure Borders here in Austin. I'm here to testify in support of House Bill 263 on behalf of our members. First, I thank the chairman, he's missing at the moment, for granting us a hearing on this very important legislation. House Bill 263 is a good first step to begin to recoup a fraction of the astronomical cost associated with the ever-increasing Texas illegal alien population. There are many estimates floating around as to the cost of providing services to our illegal alien population. All of these estimates are grossly underestimated because that data is simply not collected, and many of the numbers are arrived at through self-reporting. How many people who are illegally present going to stand up and say, "Please count me, I'm here illegally"? The greatest burden to Texas taxpayers is in education, though health care costs are very significant. Illegal aliens often receive medical care in hospital emergency rooms. This is an extremely expensive and seriously detrimental to citizens who are there to receive life-saving care. Emergency Medicaid funds often pay for the cost of childbirth and prenatal care, as was mentioned earlier. As a former nursing home reform advocate, I find this very disturbing. Those funds are sorely needed to provide care for our elderly citizens who are residing in nursing homes on Medicaid beds. Simply put, it is not acceptable to take money away from our citizens to provide services for people who have broken our laws time and time again. The Center for Immigration Studies found that 34% of the illegal aliens in Texas live in poverty and 70% live near poverty. It is incorrect and foolish to think that illegal aliens don't access entitlement services, which were designed for citizens. They're not eligible for most of these services. Their widespread use of fraudulent documents enable them to do so. Most of the jobs held by illegal aliens in Texas are in the service sector, and more often than not, they do not pay taxes and they're paid cash under the table. This is especially true for those employed in construction. The Inter-American Development Bank reports that approximately 17% of remittances are employed in construction. The IDB also estimated that in 2008, $4.3 million was sent to Latin America alone. Illegal aliens are generally renters, and they send most of their earnings back to their countries of origin, so this is money that is removed from our economy before it can be spent here. The ACLU and others here today will comment that HB 263 unfairly targets Latinos. It is important to know the facts concerning our not-so-diverse Texas foreign-born population. Over 75% of the Texas foreign-born population was born in Latin America. Of that number, over 63% were born in Mexico. The next largest segment of the Texas foreign-born population is from Asia at a whopping 16.1%, and then Europe follows at 4.3%. With that huge influx of foreign-born individuals from Mexico and Latin America, it stands to reason that Latinos will be affected, though not through any form of discrimination efforts. It's just facts on the ground. The Texas legislature must find a way to recoup the tremendous expense of providing services to our growing illegal alien population, and we would ask this committee to consider this bill and report it favorably out of committee. Thank you.
Any questions, ma'am? Yes, Representative Howard.
I'm getting a little bit confused about the term Latino and Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of the bill was this would be for Mexico, Latin America, and South America.
Mm-hmm.
I spent considerable time in South America where there's a large European populace that primarily came from Germany prior to and during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a person who speaks Spanish and who is of a descendant of a German
Mm-hmm.
comes to this country, is he Hispanic Is he Latino? What is he?
I don't know. I just know he comes from south of the border. And more likely than not, the problem is that most of our illegal alien population comes from south of the border.
Yeah, I understand that.
And
but,
so
I mean,
that's where we're trying to recoup expenses.
We had some questions about whether this was aimed at Hispanics or not.
Right.
And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this is not, are these people Hispanic if they were from European descent? They might speak Spanish,
exactly.
but they might also speak German and French. My cancer doctor was born in Germany. His parents moved to Chile. He got his education in Chile, and he came to the United States. Now, is he Hispanic, or is he European? What is he?
I don't know. I don't know, but I just know that the citizens in Texas are being adversely affected by this cost.
Yeah.
And they are crying out for this legislature to do something to protect them and to help to do something for the citizens of this state who go without quite often. So I don't know the answer to your question, and I don't know that this bill is...
So this bill is not aimed at, quote, Hispanic.
No.
It's aimed at people who are in this country illegally.
Right.
Not the 90-something% of them.
Right.
Recognizing that we have some from China, Asia.
Exactly. But the largest percentage of them come from south of the border.
Right.
That's where they come from. And that's not any of us trying to...
And they're not necessarily Hispanic.
Right, exactly. But that's
Thank
what
you.
it gets turned around. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, Charlie, actually, the term Hispanic is something that the U.S. Census Bureau created to help identify a demographic group. It does include immigrants from Mexico, Central America, South America.
So if someone's European descent,
Yeah,
they were born from somebody that came from Germany,
Mexico is
defined
a
as Hispanic?
Mexico. Folks from Mexico are a mestizo. It's a mix of races. So you have folks who are German, Spanish, indigenous, all mixed together. And anybody coming from Mexico, when we account for their presence in the United States, we categorize them as Hispanics. That's the U.S. Census Bureau.
So would that be true of South America also?
Yes.
So they're Hispanic.
Central America also. Yeah.
Any other questions for the witness?
Education tonight.
Members, I need to move along. I got other witnesses here. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
You talk about the cost. Now, the comptroller, our comptroller, did a study on the costs and economic benefit.
Right.
Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with it, and from what we've read about it, it was pretty flawed based on the number of illegal alien students that she failed to count. And there were some other studies that were very different from hers. So actually in the Burnson study...
She has a table, estimated effects of removing 1.4 million unauthorized immigrants from Texas in 2005. And total gross regional product loss, 2010, 18.7 billion.
Yes, and I
That's
think...
a large number.
You know, I think part of the problem is that, once again, it is a grossly underestimated figure because nobody
You don't
knows.
believe the Texas comptroller?
No, I really don't. That study was, we think, very flawed.
Flawed.
Yes. And so I would just refer you to the newest one out by James Burnson. He explains that. James Burnson.
He works for a comptroller?
No, he
works for
used to
some
be
other
with
state
Sloan. No, he does. He used to work here, as a matter of fact.
So, and he published this at the state agency?
No, he published it for us, actually.
Oh, for you.
We asked him to come up with some new figures for us so we could figure out what was going on. Just like he did it before for the Lone Star Foundation and the comptroller and all the, FAIR. Everybody does their study, the Pew Hispanic, and a lot of his figures are based on the new Pew Hispanic study. So I encourage you to read it. I'm happy to get a copy of it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, members?